Hello, my name is Geraldine Byrne Nason. I'm Ireland's 19th ambassador to the United States of America. Very proud to have assumed that role quite recently in September of last year. I came to Washington following a 5-year stint in New York as Ireland's ambassador to the UN, where for 2 years I had the honour of sitting on the Security Council. Well, first of all, I'm delighted that we are at 52%, and why shouldn't we be? Half of us hold up the sky, as the Chinese proverb says. We have very deliberate, focused policies in the Irish Foreign Ministry. We want to make sure that our diplomatic service reflects the society that we're representing abroad, but also that we are moving into indeed as well. So the communities we service internationally are also pretty much 50% female. So our policies, particularly the most recently adopted policy, which is entitled a Gender Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy, are highly effective. Women's participation is sometimes regarded as an add-on or a luxury. We regard it as a basic necessity, and that was very obvious to me, both in the work on the Commission on the Status of Women, very importantly while I was on the Security Council, where we took a lead on the work on women, peace and security. And when you ask what's the importance of women in the political process, our own national experience in Ireland, where women were critical to the delivery of peace and the Good Friday Agreement, the implementation of that agreement, the actual formation of the agreement, ensuring that women's voices were in the room and at the table, were fundamental to delivering what we now know, but maybe didn't know at the time 25 years ago, was the sustainability of the agreement. We've seen globally the importance of women's participation in conflict situations, in the resolution of conflict, is a link to sustainability of the result. Unless women are engaged and involved, we find that peace agreements simply don't have the longevity they would otherwise have. That goes to women's roles in communities, in education, and we want it to be in the politics of the result as well. Our political system in Ireland is not as representative as I believe it should be, because I'm a believer in the if you can't see it, you can't be it. When I joined the Foreign Ministry, there was one female ambassador, so it was rather hard for me to find a role model at the time. In our political system, we have some distance to go to get near that 30%, and that of course is not 50 or 80% female representation in our political system. But there has been a very important step taken, 2 steps really. One in 2016, where public funding to political parties was linked to a requirement that 30% of the candidate list be female. And that was a sobering thought. When you link money and gender together, people pay attention. So the candidacy lists improved. We now have that figure up to 40%. That, of course, is a candidates list. It's not a guarantee of election. So it's a step forward. But I'm often asked in my career, do I believe in quotas? And my answer is always that I don't like quotas. I'm a woman, I like to believe, and I progressed on my merits, and every woman, I think sometimes with much more effort than male counterparts, have had to progress on their merits. But what we have seen, particularly in Nordic countries, is the effectiveness of quotas. And targets certainly have a sobering effect. So I'm hoping that in Ireland, this recent move around funding of political parties will lead to seeing bigger numbers of women making legislative decisions that support women. The flexible work policies that we want to see, for example, for diplomats, in terms of flexible working time, in terms of childcare, in terms of entitlement, all come from political decisions, and we need to see more women engaged in those political decisions. Well, you know, as an old dog on the road, my advice is to get into that room and to speak up. I'm with, was it Shirley Chisholm, who said, if you don't find a chair at the table, you bring a folding one with you. While I was sitting at the Security Council, my constant mantra was women in the room and at the table. I'm not a great believer in solutions that are women's advisory boards or consultative groups. Women have their place at the table. It's not a given that your place is at the table, but it's an absolute necessity for progress going forward.